Please stay with us, but watch this from Parliament.
Such as China, India, and the rest. And I hope that it will not adversely affect the agreements, because when you are negotiating with big countries, small countries such as ours, but we have ties of history, and therefore I don't believe that it will put us in a worse situation. My advice to the Trade Ministry will be that we should start engaging very quickly. I'm told that it will take about 2 years for them to exit after they've triggered the Article 50. And so we should start early so that we know the position, we know what exactly is the situation, and we start putting our stuff together early enough. So that would be my advice.
Mr. Chairman, my final question. The biggest issue currently, perhaps, within the corridors of the African Union has to do with Morocco's application to rejoin the African Union. We do know that last week an official visit had been scheduled with President Nana Akufo-Addo with the Moroccan king. A statement was issued a few days ago that that visit has been postponed. It's clear to those of us who are watching the international relations space that Morocco continues to lobby. I want to know what will be your advice to the Ghanaian president on this bid by Morocco to rejoin the African Union. But remember that that bid is linked to the rights of the Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic to have their right to self-determination and to remain a member of the AU. Morocco would want to join the AU with the Sahrawi Republic being removed or losing its membership of the AU. I want to know, to what extent are you conversant with this matter, which is currently the most thorny issue within AU corridors, and what would be your advice to President Nana Akufo-Addo? Whose side are you on, Morocco or the Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic?
I remember, please don't answer the question relating to sides. Just offer your advice.
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. Honorable Chairman, let me say that we in Ghana believe in the right of a people to self-determine where they want to be. It's been our policy for a very long time. Indeed, it is true that Morocco has applied to join the African Union, rejoin the African Union. Western Sahara is a member of the African Union. We do have relations with all countries. So we do have relations with Morocco. We do have relations with Western Sahara. Can't speak much to that, but they are coming. Their application has not yet been looked at by the African Union. I'm not even sure whether at the summit coming up it will be one of the issues that will be discussed. But let me say that Morocco is a friend, so is Western Sahara. It will be difficult at this point to take a stand as I sit here, because the issue of expelling Western Sahara from the African Union, I don't believe has come up.
All right.
Officially.
All right. Honorable Patricia.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Congratulations, Honorable Shirley Ayokoboche. Honorable, as a Foreign Minister-Designate, I'd like to ask you, what is your view and position on JITMO 2?
Honorable Chairman, this is a difficult, my view, my personal view.
One moment, please. Is it on JITMO 2? Sorry, the matter is sub judice, so I'll advise that you ask another question.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Chair. I'll go on to my second question. You agree with me that with reference to economic diplomacy, our missions will be the selling point and therefore should have a certain image. What is the current state of our missions after parliamentary approval for a $50 million? I don't know if you have any idea. Parliament approved $50 million to ensure that we enhance our missions. Do you have any idea of our missions, the state of our missions? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. Honorable Chairman, in the last 8 years, I have traveled and I have had occasion to visit some of our missions. I must say that most of our buildings are in very bad state. And so the 50 million Société Générale facility is very welcome. In some missions, we need to do rehabilitation. In other missions, we need to purchase a building because some of our buildings are rented, and as a result, we pay very high rent. And it would make business sense for us to purchase some of, whether it's the chancery or the residence. We need to do something immediately about it. Honorable Chairman, in some of the missions, or with regard to some of them, I think we would have to relook at what we intended to do with that money. Because if you take in my opinion, if you take the New York building, it's in a very, very prime area, but it's in a very bad state. We have asbestos, which would make any public environmental body close down a building that has asbestos. But they've discovered asbestos there, which causes cancer. And then you take the heating system, it's almost gone. If we are to apply a paltry amount, as I have seen, which will be used for that, we won't be able to create what we would like to see. So I believe that in some cases we have to be radical and look at other options, whether it's a build, operate, and transfer option. You have a building in a prime area, you build it all the way to maybe 20, 30 floors. Whoever you go into the partnership with will rent the rest. You use whatever you need to use, and then after a while, it is transferred to you. So we have the money, but I think we should re-examine the options available to us. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable nominee, I know that our foreign missions, or let me state it this way, you are a member of the transitional team. The question I want to ask is, do you have a fair view of the conditions of service of our foreign officers? And if it needs some kind of an enhancement, Thank you.
Honorable Chairman, until I I become minister by the grace of God and through your approval and recommendation, I wouldn't know what the conditions of service is for foreign service officers. But I know that they always complain, so I'll look at it.
Honorable Hello.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. First, for pronouncing the name correctly. I'd also like to congratulate the Minister-Designate for your nomination to this high office. I'm really happy about it. And we women are really happy and supportive of women being nominated. My first question really is about the acquisition of passports by our brothers and sisters living abroad. Recently, I had to come in to support students studying in Cuba who had difficulty in acquiring passports when the ones they took, they had expired. Can you give us what you think can be done so that they do not go through such hardships when they have to renew or even acquire new passports? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. Honorable Chairman, the issue of passports I knew would come up. It's an issue that has become very controversial for several reasons. But let me say that we now, as a ministry, not we, but as a ministry, there are about 6 missions outside that issue passports. The example you gave, which is in Cuba, they do not issue passports. So what will happen is the people will go and fill the forms, and then it will be sent back here for the passports to be issued and sent back. What happens, which is why delays are caused, is that in some cases there are mistakes on the form, or some documents can't be authenticated, and as a result, delays happen because then they have to find ways of contacting the applicant, correcting the mistakes. That takes time, and that is one of the reasons why you would find such delays in the issuance of passports. But let me say that
before I go on, if we did an online application, would that same problem persist?
Honorable Chairman, that is why the online application has been introduced. It cuts out a lot of the mistakes that you find in passports. Unfortunately, if I think I've got it right, in the mission, some of the missions, such as Cuba, they would still have to do a manual completion and send it to Ghana. But I stand for correction if that is not the case. But I think that is the case. We have about 6 missions where passports are issued, such as Abuja, UK, I believe New York and Washington, Berlin, and South Africa. But apart from those missions, any other mission would have to send and sometimes the diplomatic bags through which these things are sent, it takes time. There are delays with that as well.
Thank you. My second question really is about the appointments that we make when it comes to ambassadorial positions. It is our history that we sometimes put political figures, we appoint political figures, whereas the career diplomats also are qualified to serve as ambassadors. would you suggest a quota, so that we have a win-win situation? I stand to get your view on this.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairman. Honorable Chairman, the appointment of political ambassadors lies in the bosom of the President. I have some strong views on it, but I don't think that I am qualified to give those views. But yes, I think that...
I'm sorry to interject. You will be the President's principal legal advisor on foreign policy. We're not saying she should share it, but foreign policy, as foreign minister, the President will rely very heavily on the advice that you will give. So do we expect advice sharing your heavy positions on this matter?
Honorable Chairman, in answering her question, I think that there must be a quota. Presidents all over the world, including those who have been presidents in this country and our president, will have and will always appoint political persons to the post of ambassador. What would happen is you might want a certain emphasis to be laid in a certain area which is very important to you, and therefore you send somebody who is not a career person to go. This is not to say that the career people are not capable.
Chairman, sorry, I'm back again. Honorable Minister nominee, there is a career division of the Foreign Service of men and women who have dedicated themselves to the pursuit of Ghana's foreign policy. On a 60-40 basis, 60 career, 40 political, or 80 career, 20 political, what would be your option, policy options?
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. I'm trying to be diplomatic, that's why. But, Honorable Chairman, in my opinion, it should be about 60-40, and also that in favor of the career diplomats, and also that we do not appoint political deputy ambassadors. Thank you. That's my opinion.
You are against deputy ambassadors at the missions?
No.
Political deputy ambassadors. But the office of deputy ambassador, what will you do with head of chancellery?
We have the chargés d'affaires in every mission, so they will act in the absence of the ambassador.
Last question, not too important, but I need to know. Well, to me, right. Do you think that, to me, I'm asking my question. Why are you interjecting? Hey.
Please, Honorable, address the chair. Ignore their sides, please.
She's been heckling me all the time. Do you think that in the era of economic diplomacy that you yourself have talked about a lot, do you think that Ghana should continue to be a member of the non-aligned nations?
I'm not, Honorable Chairman, I'm not even sure that it still exists. I'm sorry. But if it does, we've always been non-aligned. I mean, we don't take sides. So that's what I will say. If it exists, we should be part of it. Thank you.
Somebody said that it is alignment of those who are not aligned. And that in itself is an alignment. Well, we'll come to leadership, Deputy Chairman.
Thank you, Chair. Congratulations Minister-Designates on Foreign Affairs, and also to place on record that she is one of my mothers in politics and a mentor as well. I want to start by asking, public procurement is an area where finances of the state could be saved or wasted. If you come to the European Union, they do have a directive on public procurement. As the Minister-Designate on Foreign Affairs, or for Foreign Affairs, would you advise that Ghana makes a strong case for the African Union or the ECOWAS to have a framework for all member states to draw their national procurement practices from, as the lessons are in the European Union?
This is a legal question. I am not a lawyer, but I will attempt to answer this.
Honorable nominee.
I believe the
Honorable nominee, I withdraw. I would want to avert your mind to Article 40 of the Constitution, which talks about international relations, and it reads, in its dealings with other nations, the government shall promote and protect the interests of Ghana, seek the establishment of just and equitable international economic and social order, promote respect for international law, treaty obligations, and settlement of international disputes by peaceful means, and it reads on and on and on. In your view, would you say that is a foreign policy of Ghana? And would you add on, given current international developments all over?
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. I believe Article 40 encapsulates the foreign policy of Ghana, promoting and protecting the interest of Ghana whilst you deal with countries and institutions of the world, and also ensuring that we promote and respect treaties and other obligations and international law. I think by and large, we haven't done badly as a country. Also that, as I said earlier, we are strong as a country. We have played very leading roles in ECOWAS, in the AU. We've had our voices heard in the corridors of the UN. We have taken the chair of the UN Security Council again, and it goes on and on and on. I think we haven't done badly, and by and large, that is our foreign policy.
Chairman, let me thank you for the opportunity and to congratulate the honorable colleague, Honorable Ayoko Boche. I worked with her representing President Mahama, and she, then President-elect Nana Addo Dankwa, on the inauguration committee. And by all standards, I believe that this was one of our best inaugural ceremonies. But taking it from Honorable Ajua Safo, will you be guided by Article 40 in the pursuit of your foreign policy? Yes,
Honorable Chairman, I believe that our foreign policy, the base document for our foreign policy or any policy is the supreme law of the land, which is the Constitution. So yes, I can see.
So when the Honorable Ajua was suggesting to you to add to it, remind her that you don't have the power to add to it. Add how?
So.
Please ask your next question.
Chairman, it leads me to my first and major question. Securing passport in Ghana is the headache of many Ghanaian citizens across the country, from Hamley in the Upper West region, Kukobla in the northern region, through Zwarungu in the Upper East region, and Bwedi in the western region. Can you assure this House and give specific time limits? Your predecessor ministers had initiated decentralization of passport offices. I should think that we have 3 as at now. 6. When would we have 10 across all the regions?
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. This is so. We have major issues when it comes to securing passports for our citizens. Fortunately, the Passport Office has chalked a lot of successes in terms of decentralizing passport acquisition. As we speak, we have what we call the passport application centers in 6 regions of the country. I will assure the House that just as my predecessor has increased it from what it was, I would also, if I'm given the nod, also work towards having passport application centers in the rest of the 4, which is in Koforidua, representing the Eastern region, in the Upper East, Upper West, Wa and Bulga, and then the last one would be in Cape Coast, the Central region. So yes, and then let me say that plans are far advanced, as we say in Ghana. We have identified, when I say we, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs has identified properties in all 4. In some cases, they've been offered the properties by the regional administration of those regions. And therefore, what is left is for some money to be made available for renovation, and then they can set up in the 4 areas left. So it shouldn't take us too long. I can't put a time frame to it, but I can see it happening within, if I'm being very generous with time, within 2 years. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Related to that is Muslims, pilgrims who have to travel to Mecca for an important religious and spiritual exercise of Hajj. Can we have some assurances from you what you will do to allow their speedy and ready access to passport to enable them make the trip?
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. I think firsthand I've experienced the kind of problems that Muslim pilgrims go through. My constituency has a lot of Muslims there, and I know when it comes to going on the Hajj, it creates a lot of problems in even acquisition of passports. I think the system has improved in that the Passport Office has, during this period, has allocated some days where they deal with Hajj applications. And I think that has sort of
so can I just have your assurance?
Yes, you have my assurance.
Special attention,
we'll look at
special
it and
working
even improve
relationship
upon
with
it.
whatever committee has to work to ensure that pilgrims are guaranteed early access to their passport to enable them make this important journey.
Yes, Honorable Chairman.
Related to that, your predecessor minister was very passionate, and I recall I had the privilege to work with her in cabinet, that the 50 million that the Honorable Apiaje referred to The Honorable Hannah Sewatete's position was to argue for a retention of the ministry's IGF as security to guarantee this $50 million. Will that be your position?
Honorable Chairman, that is exactly my position. 25% retention is not enough. And even then, we do not always, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs does not always get that money. I would even go further to advocate for an increase in the retention so that the ministry is not always cash-strapped, which is the case. This is a ministry that is always cash-strapped. Thank you.
Chairman, thank you once again. The matter that the Honorable Okujeto raised vis-a-vis Morocco versus the Sahrawi Arab Republic, are you aware that at the last TICAD meeting in Nairobi, Morocco declined taking their seat if Sahrawi Arab was not withdrawn from the meeting?
Honorable Chairman, I'm not aware. I haven't come across any such report.
What will be your advice as we seek in handling this delicate diplomatic matter?
Honorable Chairman, this is a difficult one. This will be handled, I believe, at the level of the heads of state. And these matters, but of course, it will come to the Executive Council, which is made up of foreign ministers. I am new, so if you will.
we will. Chairman, my next question is on Britain and on Brexit, also as a follow-up to the Honorable Okujeto. The UK remains our major and largest trading partner. Following their decision with Brexit, it will require a redefinition of our market access in relation to the trade policies you intend to pursue. Are you worried about Brexit's dire economic implications for Ghana?
Yes, I am worried. Any country that trades with the UK will be worried. But I have been assured by several people that I have talked to that it will not fundamentally change the agreements that we have. Indeed, Honorable Chairman, my worry is more of the UK not being part of the European Union, because as you know, the UK has always been an advocate for the small countries in terms of subsidies. They've always fought in that sense and spoken on our behalf because of subsidies and how subsidies hurt our exports in terms of prices. So that's where my worry is. And of course, also the fact that the UK contributes a lot to the fund. And with the UK not being there, there will be less money. So those are the areas that I'm worried about. But in terms of our trade relations, I don't think that it will change fundamentally.
Chairman, thank you. Honorable Ayoko Bochwe, the right to acquire the Ghanaian passport is not only a domestic problem. Ghanaian citizens abroad go through, pardon my word, hell in order to be able to get visas back into the country, some of them access to passport. What will you do to reduce the crying of those people?
Thank you very much. Honorable Chairman, I think one of the main ways of reducing the time that one can acquire a passport is to extend the online passport application everywhere, and also to see whether it is possible to put to have many more of missions that are equipped to issue passports, so that when you have completed your passport online, of course, you make less mistakes. And if it's, let's say, in Europe, you send it, the completed form goes to the Berlin mission, and then it is dealt with there, and you don't have many issues with postage and all of that. But that would also mean that you would have to have more staff in the consular section. Thank you. That's.
Thank you, Chairman. My other question is that I'm sure in the transition process, you've been briefed adequately on some processes about the chip embedded passport. Can this committee have your assurance that within 1 year after assuming office, Ghana can transit onto this platform following the fact that procurement processes were almost completed on this matter?
Yes, Honorable Chairman, I need to look at it again, make sure that everything is okay. I know that the process went as far as to the Central Tender Board, and but I also, in making sure that everything is okay, I also appreciate the fact that we need quickly to migrate from biometric passport to chip-embedded passports, which will make it very easy for each and every one of us in terms of security and all of that. So, but of course, this is a process that did not come to a completion. So I will take my time to look at it. But I can also assure this House that I will do everything within my power to expedite it.
Chairman, before I use the word final, and Chairman will say I'm coming back on final, my last two issues. You are aware that Ghana has a very disciplined foreign service corps who are dedicated to work for their country abroad. Conditions of service since you left as Deputy Minister has not significantly changed. But arguably, as I have traveled either to WTO or ILO, I'm mindful of what drivers and cooks' admissions tell me on the quiet together with other officers. They are concerned about a particular condition of service, which gave them an opportunity when they are coming back to Ghana to be able to have a vehicle with government partly supporting the relocation of that vehicle. Will you support them in that?
Honorable Chairman, I believe that we should support when a staff, an employee of the Foreign Ministry finishes their duty tour and they are coming back. They have served our country very well. We should consider seriously making sure that the vehicle that they bring is tax-free, duty-free, sorry.
And within the foreign service, there are times that they are, some of them, unhappy or demotivated because seniority, just like the military, is upheld with some religious precision. So at times when you have a junior or a junior who ought to be somewhere going ahead of you, create some butterflies in many of them, their stomach. Can we be assured that merit will be honored and rewarded under your watch as Minister for Foreign Affairs, and that seniority will be accordingly respected?
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. I think nothing is demotivating than to find that somebody who you're senior to has been promoted over you. And therefore, I would give the assurance to this committee that promotions will be done on merit and on seniority as well. Thank you.
Chairman, my very, very last is on the missions and the utilization of the 50 million credit. I'm aware that, for instance, in New York, there was an outstanding bill of $1 million US. If you particularly go to Geneva and even to the same US, we have prime property in very prime areas. Will you support a public-private partnership in this enterprise?
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. I will. I said it in an earlier answer to a question that I think not just applying the 50 million to some missions that may require more than has been allocated to those missions, but rather we should go the PPP or BOT way. Thank you.
So we are assured that you will support any outright sale of any government of Ghana property properly acquired, maybe by Nkrumah, and someone comes saying that I want to sell it and then buy a new plot. When you say PPP, will you support outright sale of those properties or portions of land relative to the Foreign Service?
As I sit here, yes, that is my thinking. I might be faced with different circumstances at when I go in there, but I do not support that we should sell our properties.
Will you sell? Will you sell? Will you sell? It's not thinking, Chairman. We can't take you at the level of thinking.
I would have to seek approval, but I do not think that we should sell properties in prime areas.
Thank you.
Finally, the minority leader has closed. Well, I'll ask you two questions. As we're sitting here, I'm getting messages from Ghanaians all over, and they tell us they are monitoring what we're doing. And they all added them on one thing: visa fees. They think that the fees they pay for visas and their children are too much. Is it possible to do anything about it? Yeah? From the missions, yes.
These are fees that are approved by Parliament, I believe, and it will be difficult to do something about it unless Parliament decides in its wisdom that when the fees are brought before us, we will vary the fees downwards.
The last question. Traveling around the world, the protocol services, state protocols across the world are very discriminatory. They give all attention to the executive, to the detriment of the other arms of government. I'm sure you have experienced it yourself. Anyone of here has. Are you assuring this House that you will make sure that they treat all arms of government with the same?
The First Deputy Speaker.
All members of Parliament, all members of the judiciary are treated with the same respect as they are called members of the executive.
Honorable Chairman, I'm a member of Parliament. I've been a member of Parliament. This is my 4th term, and therefore I know what you're talking about. These are courtesies that are extended to or are supposed to be extended to us, and I believe that it shouldn't be discriminatory. So I will do everything to ensure that members of Parliament and the judiciary are treated very well. Thank you.
Chairman, or you do, it's a follow-up to Chairman, unless you deny me that. Will you preserve the sanctity and dignity of the diplomatic passport and ensure that only the deserving have access to it?
Honorable Chairman, I'm happy that you've raised this issue. Yes, I will. Yes, I will. I believe that we are all aware who should have a diplomatic passport, and we'll stick to the people who are entitled to it.
Okay, thank you, Honourable Member. Thank you for attending upon the committee. You are discharged. We will have a 30-minute break. Members can stretch, and then we will reassemble at exactly 4:30.
Come, I'm ready. Process that has just gone through for Madam Shelley Ayoko Boche there. She is Minister-Designate for Foreign Affairs. And you've heard her answer a couple of questions. And you could also tell that the questions were mainly about passport acquisition here in Ghana. And of course, they also spoke about appointment of diplomats, whether or not it should be more political or whether or not it should be career diplomats. They touched on economic diplomacy and Ghana's alignment, whether Ghana is going to whether Ghana is going to make any changes to its position at the moment, and then talked about the foreign policy. And of course, there was a bit of Hajj, Brexit, all of that. So today we're expecting about 4 of them to be vetted. Alan Chemating has already gone through it. Madam Shelley Ayoko Boche has just completed the process and will be subjecting the process so far to a bit of analysis here. This is the Pulse here on Joy News on Multi TV.